Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Tech Unlocked podcast, the podcast where we unlock the latest tech news, leaks, and rumors so you don't have to. And today we are joined by another special guest. We have Zach from ZAKTalks Tech, who's joining us all the way from Canada. And before we move into the episode, I'm Benji from BenObi Tech, one of your co-hosts, and I'm joined by Taylor from TA Tech, as always. Zach,
what's going
welcome
on, guys?
to the show.
Thank you for
Thanks
having
for joining
me. Appreciate
us. I've been anticipating this moment for a couple of weeks because you're an awesome guy. We loved your content. We love what you do, and so we thought we'd invite you on for an episode.
Appreciate the kind words. I'm just another geek out there with his voice on the internet. But thank you, appreciate it.
Definitely, awesome. Man. Yeah, I'm usually watching your streams. If I'm not commenting, I'm usually one of the lurkers. So.
You're one of the lurkers? Okay, yeah, cool. Yeah. Cool. So now I can mark that off. Now I'm always like, who are the 10 people that are not talking? All right, Taylor is one of them. All right, good. I knew you were probably one of them. Awesome, man. Appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. I mean, your shows, man, your like I was saying before we started here, you know, your camera angles, the music, everything, the sound effects that you do, it's all an amazing show. You do great work.
I'm a fan.
Keep that up, man.
Yeah, thank you. I'm a fan of going back in the day of like the old, like talk shows, like with like I barely remember Jimmy Carson, but like Jay Leno and David Letterman and Conan O'Brien is one of my heroes, and so that's kind of where I kind of design my shows around. So kind of an opening part, then a monologue kind of thing, and then we kind of get into the topics and then away we go kind of thing.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
Cool. So we're going to go ahead and hop into the show today. For those who are listening or watching for the first time, basically how this is going to work is we're going to go through some news stories from the past week since our last episode. And then we're going to take some time to get to know Zach a little bit more and help you guys understand a little bit more about him and who he is and some of the tech that he likes as well. So starting off with our first news story, you'll apparently soon be able to accept contactless payments from your iPhone. So basically you'll be able to pay for something using your iPhone, but the seller is going to be receiving the payment through their iPhone. It's going to be kind of like a contactless thing. It's basically just like a contactless card reader, but that your phone becomes that. I didn't really word that right, but that's exactly what it's going to be. So this is, of course, just a rumor. It could happen. It could not happen. But what do you guys think about this idea?
I think the removal of hardware from hardware companies that provide like the terminals, like you're talking about, how so let's just, I guess, kind of reiterate what it is that your phone, your iPhone will be able to now be the terminal to receive those payments rather than using a separate piece of hardware. So those companies that make that hardware, you're on notice, and you should have probably seen this coming. I mean, right now, for example, I can send money to Taylor, I can send money to Benji through PayPal or whatever it is, kind of thing. But now we're talking about on the business side of things. So, you got a mom and pop stand set up on the corner. Let's say it's a yard sale. Let's say it's a garage sale, right? And they could literally take payments for things at the garage sale with their phone rather than putting their contact name in there and sharing this and that. They could just tap and away they go, kind of thing. That's absolutely huge. You're talking about reducing, the amount of hardware that's out there and whatnot, but also competition and whatnot. So that should be very interesting to see how some of those payment terminal companies like Moneris and whatnot decide how they're going to approach that, especially when it comes to working with the banks and everything. That's another question that I have about this as well. How does this work with the banks? Is this a deposit into a personal account? Can we set it up for business accounts? Is there a limitation there? So there's a lot of questions there.
Yeah, and also a question that I would ask even is like, is this going to work for anybody? Like, can I go to a friend, like, let's say I give them a lift in my car, and then they want to pay for petrol instead of like going through PayPal or even Apple Pay Cash if you're lucky enough to live in the United States to have that. Then can I receive a payment from my phone? I think that would be really cool to see come to the iPhone as well. So of course we don't know everything about this. It's just a rumor, but it's rumored by Mark Gurman, who is pretty accurate with his Apple leaks and Apple rumors. So I guess we'll see when this drops. But Taylor, do you have any thoughts?
No, uh, I think exactly like you guys think. So
Awesome. So yeah, so it's exciting stuff. Hopefully this does happen. It would be really cool. I think it would make things easier for, I think, a lot of sellers and like even local convenience stores and stuff like that who maybe don't make as much money as some of the like Apple or Target or some other stores that they could just afford to have a contactless system. I think this would be great. And
Yeah, when you're talking about those contactless systems, so like I know it's more prevalent in the United Kingdom and in Canada here for us here, Ben, as you know, that you and I can go with our debit card or our credit card and just go tap and wait, where you go, right? Depending on
Yeah.
which state you are in the United States, where you are in the United States, you may or may not get that. So I was at CES recently, and it was really interesting. Some of the restaurants I went to, I could tap my credit card and pay for my meal. Other ones, I had to tap, but I still had to sign. It was really kind of like, why is this extra? You're kind of defeating the whole purpose. And then other ones, they were still full on swiping and everything, like we were back in 1982. So it's interesting to see, it should be interesting to see how this could be adopted. Again, there might be some pushback from the banks and everything, because the banks work with a lot of these terminal companies. The biggest one, like I said before, is Moneris worldwide. So they do a lot of the debit, credit cards. They make the terminals where you can go with your phone, whether it's Google or Apple Pay, and beep, with the NFC, and away you go, right? Now you're removing that. Okay, so now, how does Moneris make their money? Or say they're not, they're completely removed. How does the bank make their money? It's because the banks also make money with the transaction fees. Sometimes you'll go to places where you'll tap your card or whatever, you'll tap your phone, and they won't take it because the purchase isn't over a certain amount, because the retailer needs to offset that. So now you've removed money that the bank can possibly make with transaction fees. So I can see a lot of pushback there with regulations and the man and everything like that. So this should be very interesting. Now, if this isn't going to be on a personal level, like only X amount of dollars per year that you can do, then I can see it going through. Like, say, for example, if it's under $30,000 a year that you're putting through it, I can see it being pushed through, no problem. But once you start hitting those higher amounts, like you start having chains and everything, people using their phones to accept payments, it should be interesting. I think this is just the beginning of something that could be, to basically rumble and get things, moving a little bit.
yeah, I think so as well. And that you brought up some really good points there, I think, as well.
Yeah,
it's really going to be
definitely.
interesting to see how Apple's going to handle the whole thing. Maybe it'll be kind of a rollout thing. It's not going to be something that's going to just, now companies can accept payments. Maybe they'll do it on like just a person to person level, like you can do it with
On
your
a personal
friends.
level. I could see
And
this
then
being the first
eventually
step of
expand.
I can see this being as the first step of Apple trying to get their foot in the door of the financial end of things. So we've seen them get a couple feet in the door, obviously on the medical side, on the health side there with the Apple Watch and all the things you can do there with the integrations and whatnot. I could see this being as a kind of a first step of, okay, can we get our foot in the door doing financial stuff? I mean, they already kind of do with the Apple Card, but of course that's run through with I think who do they run the Apple Card through? Is it through Chase?
Goldman Sachs.
Is it Goldman? Yeah, Goldman Sachs. So they already got their foot in the door that way. So maybe this is an experimentation of, okay, can we go further, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's really going to be interesting to see how it all plays out.
The next thing that we wanted to talk about is iOS 15.4 beta. So the iPhone 15.4 beta released, which allows you to unlock your phone with Face ID while wearing a mask, new emojis, and finally universal control and more. What do you guys' thoughts?
So what's the universal control here? It says enable long-awaited universal control features, which design lets you use a single cursor and keyboard to control the iPads Macs that are signed into your iCloud account. So doesn't Logitech kind of already do that kind of thing with some of their mouse software that's out there? Like you can kind of go between computers and whatnot. Don't they already have something like that?
I think it's kind of a similar thing, but with the universal control, you can basically, let's say you have a computer, like you have a MacBook and you have an iPad next to you. You've got things like Sidecar already, where you just connect the iPad and it's an external monitor. But with universal control, you're using them as separate devices still. So with the Mac, you would move your cursor towards the iPad, and then you'd be able to drag and drop certain files from the iPad to the Mac or the Mac to the iPad. It's kind of like an extended version of AirDrop in a way, but you can interact with both devices using just like one set of a mouse and a keyboard.
Yeah, and being natively baked in, that makes a lot more sense. It's kind of like with I like to use the analogy of trying to get my parents on WhatsApp, but they have iMessage, so that, like, forget about it, right? Like, no, it's so much trouble to download an app. Right? So if it's natively built in, like I said, I talked about the Logitech thing. Like Logitech has their software in there, but of course you have to download that software, install it, right? Anyway, so yeah, I think natively having baked in, that just makes sense. That's a nice little feature to put in there.
Yeah, and this was a feature that was supposed to be released originally with iOS 15, but then because they had issues with the software, they delayed it until now. And people who have had the beta, I don't have the betas installed on my devices just because, like, I've had experiences in the past. But
don't wanna...
but from the demos that I've seen, it looks like a really cool feature, and I think it's definitely going to be something that I'm looking forward to. But also a couple other things that are exciting about iOS 15.4 is the fact that we can now, if you have an iPhone 12 or 13, or one of the lineup, you can now use Face ID with a mask, and you can also rescan your face if you're wearing glasses, so then when your glasses fog up, you can still use Face ID if that I think is...
So hold on, that's on the Face ID with the mask. This is the first I'm hearing this part of it, but it's for iPhone 12s and newer?
Yeah. Apparently.
Really? Okay, so it's not. So my 11, my 11 Pro Max, which is this one right here. Forget about it, right? Which is okay. Yeah, it's more of a glorified camera now. It stays in the studio, but that's how they get you, right? That's how they make you upgrade, right? So
yeah. Okay. And I think John Prosser, he tweeted a couple of days ago. He was like, "Oh yeah, I leaked this ages ago." So he like leaked this extra bit that they added to the iPhone to kind of be able to unlock your
I think it's kind of a no-brainer too, given the world that we're in. I'm surprised it took this long. True. So we're technically, I guess, depending on what date you are looking at, but we're basically 2 years into this thing, right? With the pandemic, right? I'm surprised it took this long, to tell you the truth. I thought this would be one of the first things that they would. They would try to take care of, because that's their thing, right? They went in on that. No more. We're not doing the fingerprint. We're going all in on the facing, and then broke, right? So I'm surprised it actually took this long, but it's nice that they added it in. It sucks that it's for 12 and up, but I mean it's
exactly. Especially I think for some places, like here in the UK, they're kind of basically ditching all of the COVID restrictions soon. Like you no longer have to wear a mask. So like they introduced this feature, and it's not even out yet. By the time 15.4 is out, like it'll be probably March. So we don't need it anymore.
So it comes out. Hey, you can use Face ID without a mask anymore. Dude, I don't wear a mask anymore.
Exactly.
Like, right?
Exactly. Like this would have been helpful a year ago, but now it's like
exactly. Yeah. No. I mean, I'd say better late than never. But I mean, I'm surprised it took them this long to do that and everything like that. Obviously, easier to do than integrating a fingerprint sensor and stuff like that. We've heard about them doing that for years, but that's a whole different conversation, right? So.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. No, it's cool.
But I mean, it's an extra feature. It makes Face ID more usable, I guess, in a lot more use cases now, because that's something that a lot of people complain about. They're like, "Oh, I can't unlock my phone without a face covering. With a face covering, I have to buy an Apple Watch for that now, because I can unlock my phone using my Apple Watch."
Both my parents got iPhone SE's last year's version, I guess second gen, I guess you want to call it. And the second reason, and my dad really wanted to get himself like a 12 or 11, and the only reason he didn't is because he wanted that physical. He wants the physical button and everything like that, and to unlocking that way and everything like that. So maybe he'll go to a 13 this fall. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, yeah, that's cool. And also on the topic of iOS 15.4, another thing that I guess is kind of exciting for some, they've got a bunch of new emojis. So that's always exciting.
Gotta have new emojis.
We've got like a low battery emoji. They've got what else? They've got like a
Melting, a heart, face cover. I'm going to assume those
Yeah.
are beans. I thought they were pieces of crap at first, but they look like beans.
I think they're like kidney beans or something.
Oh, they're kidney beans. Okay, I hate kidney beans. Okay, cool. All right, and some bubbles.
Yeah. They've got like also saluting
Interesting.
emoji.
Yeah, the saluting emoji is cool. I like that.
Yeah. And there's also a few others that aren't on this article that we picked. There's like a pregnant man. Which is
What?
a bit questionable. But
Okay.
You
I-
haven't
like,
seen that tag?
Taylor saw that and sent it to me. I was like, oh no.
I don't know if we should go that deep.
It's
into this.
interesting.
Yeah. Next topic.
More inclusive. More inclusive. It's fine. Okay, cool.
Yeah, there are two sexes. Oh, triggered.
Yeah, anyway.
Sorry, guys.
No worries. So so moving on, we have India apparently wants to create their own smartphone OS. Whatever that means, they want to compete against iOS and Android somehow.
Dude, what?
What do you guys think?
I think they have the population to possibly pull it off. It's a matter of adoption over there.
Yeah.
Especially when you see how crazy the Indian population is for specific brands of Android devices, and then there's a whole sect of people that are crazy about iPhone if they can get their hands on it, kind of thing. So it's a matter of adoption.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, would they? I didn't read the article here. Would they run this on their own, or would they run this on top of Android, or does it mention anything like that at all, or no?
I think it's its own independent software.
That's a big feat.
It says India planning homegrown operating system to rival iOS and Android.
So now you're talking
It's
about
not.
like a Huawei level thing in a way, right? Because look
Yeah.
at Huawei,
Yeah.
right? So they got kicked out. They no longer have Google on there. Now Huawei's are very capable devices or anything like that, and I absolutely love what they're doing. But the fact of the matter is, I would never personally use one because I can't get my photos. And there's different ways, obviously, to sideload this and that. But I don't want to be bothered with that. I don't think most people would, and that's why you don't see them on a lot of carriers. So now you're looking at that level of thing, and you have to gain the trust and everything, and who's overseeing it, and you have the same checks and balances as, say, Google and Apple do, for example, when it comes to privacy, things like that. So there's a lot to overcome. But they could also gain a lot of loyalty and whatnot, just because it's India's, it's ours, it's homemade, and there's a lot of people that would grasp onto that. I know, for example, if a Canadian company were to do that, I'd be all on board. I mean, BlackBerry's an example. BlackBerry is a Canadian company, right? So there's a little piece right here in my heart, right there for BlackBerry always, right? So, but again, that's a huge feat. I mean, you have the population and whatnot, but will they jump on, right? What's going to be the grab? Why would they, right?
Yeah. And I think even looking at the history of companies that have made their own mobile OSs, like we've got Windows, Microsoft's one of the biggest companies in the world, and they kind of failed. They gave up at one point.
And the reason they failed is because of app developers. If you can't get developers on board, I mean, besides the big ones like Facebook, Twitter, but if you can't get all the little guys here and there, forget about it, right? That's a brilliant example, Ben. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, like I remember I used the Windows Phone for a couple of weeks, and I hated the fact that I couldn't have Snapchat on it because it wasn't.
Yeah.
There was no way of getting it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's really
exactly.
gonna be interesting, and also I'm interested to see if this is gonna be like an India only thing, or if they're going to basically it's gonna become like a third OS that people are gonna use in the world. I don't think so, but we'll have to see.
It seems like this story almost comes out of a corner of frustration, because we see this on a regular basis. For example, with the Pixel 6 and 6 Pro, those devices didn't right away come to India. The Pixel 5a didn't come to India. And I'm just spitballing those devices as an example, right? Seems like a lot of the more popular North American type devices or European devices don't come to India till later on because of whatever reasons they may be. Maybe because of distribution, might be because of manufacturing, might be because of the different rules put in by the governments and whatnot. We don't. I mean, there's so many moving parts, right? So I can see how this article kind of comes about from a corner of frustration, but I mean, quite a feat. I mean, the biggest question I have out of this is, why would somebody in India that already has these choices, why would they go on board with this other than the loyalty aspect, which is it's hard to grab people's attention and loyalty and respect like that.
Yeah, for sure. Taylor, do you have anything you would like to add or anything you have?
Nope. Nope.
Well, would you buy a phone if if India made an operating system?
Bruh. You know the answer to that, Benji. you know where I stand, bro. You know where I stand. Uh, yeah, no. I mean, I keep saying this. Like, I'm completely an Apple sheep, if that's what you want to call me. And I mean, the last Android device I owned was back in 2000. God, what was the S3?
Was that your last Android device, the Galaxy S3?
Yes.
Really? So you've never even have you even experienced like One UI, like how they've grown up from TouchWiz?
Nope.
Really, you are missing out, my friend. You are missing out, man. Things have totally grown up since then.
So my first ever smartphone was the iPhone 4S, and
Classic.
that had an issue, I guess. So my family members got it for me for Christmas, and I guess it was a defective device because I could hear people couldn't hear me. So I was crazy enough to actually go to the Apple store the day after Christmas. Biggest mistake of my life, by the way. So got it fixed, whatever. And then I had some kind of notification bugs. Now, I wasn't, a tech person back then. I was just a little kid, so I didn't really know much. Had it been now, like, I would have known it was just a software issue and I would have been fine. My sister was like, you went through so much stuff. You're getting an Android phone and I don't care. Gets me the Samsung Galaxy S3. I liked it for the most part. The only thing that, again, if I had known about software issues and stuff, I would have known it was all software. The only thing that I really didn't like was every time I was in an app, I kept getting this pop-up that saying that the app had stopped when clearly it didn't. And I was like, and that to me was just so annoying. Just to be like, imagine being on a Skype call and getting that pop-up. It would annoy you, or like being on YouTube watching content. So I'm like, all right, well, I kind of like the way iPhone worked. I'm going back, and here I am today.
There you go.
So
nothing wrong with that.
I'm not gonna say, because one thing that I've learned is never say never. So I'm not gonna say I would never try it, but I'm sticking to what works for me. You know what I mean?
No, makes sense. Yeah.
So
yeah, and
that's where
I'm someone who's owned an Android. I still own an Android, but I don't use it as my daily thing anymore. It's S10 Plus, so it's a bit old now. But
my wife has that. That's
2 years.
what my wife uses. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great phone. Like I kind of enjoyed using it. It's just some stuff in Android I just didn't like, so I prefer iOS.
That is a great phone.
I think that's and this might be a separate conversation, but that's where it ultimately all starts. Is what software are you comfortable using, right? So that's where you start, and then from there you can branch out to what you want to get, kind of thing. That's the best way to start. Yeah.
And I don't know about you guys, but I feel like even if you're like, deep into the ecosystem, if you have like the iPad, Apple Watch, MacBook, you're just so stuck in there. It's hard to move to something else.
Well, Okay, I'm gonna say for the majority of people out there, I hate using this word, but the average user, I'm gonna say, the average consumer, whatever. I'm gonna say, yeah, you're probably correct. I think for you and I and for Ben, it might be a little bit easier. So as an example, so I'm using, this is an iPhone, this is an iPad over here, okay? So
Yep.
I have my iCloud accounts on there and anything like that, but I primarily grab, like, this is with me all the time. This is my Pixel 6 Pro. Absolutely love this thing, everything about it. Before this, for 10 months I was using the S21. What was I using? S21 Plus, I think. What was I using? S21 Plus, was that the one before? Yeah, S21 Plus for 10 months. But like, if I'm taking pictures with the iPhone here, or if I'm go out like an insane person and take pictures with my iPad, those people that are standing up in concerts with, anyway, where are my photos being saved? Well, they're being saved locally on there, but I turned off the iCloud photo backup and I use Google.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Gotcha.
And it actually pushes to the same account that's on here. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and I do that primarily because I pay for, it's, in my opinion, better value. I pay for 5 terabytes. I think I paid $10 a month or something like that. $10 Canadian or something like that for 5 terabytes. And, which is way better value in my opinion than what Apple can offer, kind of thing. So that's what I do, and that's what I actually had my parents do as well, because they didn't want to pay for iCloud backup. And I said, hey, Google gives you 15 gigabytes. Let's put Google Photos on your iPhones. Turn off this the iCloud backup for photos only, and that way your messages and everything are still being updated to the 5 gigs that Apple gives you. Apple graciously gives you 5 gigabytes. And Ben, I'm sure there's an argument. And then, but the only annoying thing, obviously, is that they have to manually open Google Photos and have it running in the background or open for it to update. So they just know at the end of the day, after they're done taking pictures of all their grandkids and everything, they just open that and away they go, kind of thing. So that's but again, think about how many steps I just talked about there. That's not convenient for most people, right? Most people just want to be able to take their photos and not have to worry about it. Like right now, I take my photo with this. I don't have to worry about it goes to Google Photos, right? When I was in Vegas for CES, I took all my video and everything that you guys saw and all the videos I published with my iPhone here. And then I had to let it go to the cloud or manually update it there when I got back to the hotel. But it also made it very, very convenient with what's the sharing service called? Jesus. AirDrop, thank you.
Yeah.
To go from there to my MacBook, which, I work on a MacBook right here, which I know is ironic, right? But it's that ecosystem just works out so fluid. It's so nice. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of the biggest reasons why I switched back to iPhone after using the S10 Plus, was because of that ecosystem type thing. Because I took videos on my Galaxy, and then transferring them to my computer was an absolute nightmare, because I had to either put them on an SD card, but then I didn't want to constantly take out the SIM tray and all of that, or I had to upload it to Google Drive, where I don't know why Google Drive is so unreliable on my S10. I don't know what it is, but every time I tried to upload something, it sometimes would fail and it would have other issues, and then I have to go onto my Mac and download it, and it would take so long. But with an iPhone, if I needed to record a clip where I would be using my camera, I'd be using my iPhone, I just record it, AirDrop, and it's done.
I literally only took pictures with this. I did take some video, like 2 or 3 videos, basically, just because I didn't have the iPhone with me or it wasn't convenient at the time. The only videos I did consistently take with this, and then they automatically save right away, are like Instagram stories kind of thing, like 15-second little videos. So I have all these little 15-second videos in here for my Instagram, for my trip and everything. But anything for like primary videos, like when I was at PepCom, or when I went to TCL, or when I was interviewing with Edifier there or whatever, that was all done on the iPhone, and then also with the DD Pocket Wireless, which I can't reach right now. It's over there. But that, and it was just totally convenient, easy, very easy to use. Yep. And the pen. I don't know if you guys remember that. Yeah,
I do. I do.
Yeah, the pen. Yeah. So,
yeah.
Keep that one on standby. Yeah. So, yeah.
That was Zach. That was the most genius thing I have ever seen.
You know where I stole it from DePoets. You guys know who DePoets is?
Yeah,
quotes
yeah.
Terrence, right?
No.
So DePaul, you would know him because he has this really deep voice and he does stuff for Team Boom sometimes. But anyway, he has the Rode. What's the Rode version of the Pocket Wireless? The Rode
Rode Wireless Go.
Wireless Go. Yeah, that's what it
Wireless
is.
Go.
Yeah.
So what he did is he needed to make like a microphone. So he literally went out into his backyard, found a stick, and put it on a stick. So here I am. I'm about to go out to Vegas and everything. I'm about to fly out, and I was at a restaurant, and I was like, you know what? Can I steal your guys' pen? So I did, and then I put the microphone on here, and away we went. It was awesome. It was amazing.
That was awesome.
It was stupid too. I mean, it's you work with what you got, right? So there you go.
Dude, hey. Exactly. That's the way to go, man.
Yeah. Thank you.
If it works, why not?
Exactly. Right. If it works, there you go. Exactly.
You always got to think out of the box. You know what I mean?
This is way out of the box, but yes, definitely.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely. I'm gonna see if I can find a picture for you guys while we move on to the next topic.
Awesome.
All right.
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we've kind of digressed from the original topic that we were talking about.
What were we talking about?
I think we're talking about the new India OS or whatever they're gonna call it.
Yes.
Yeah, whatever it's going to
back
be
into-
called.
We're to talk about the ecosystem. But yeah, moving on. Taylor, do you wanna bring up the next story?
Sure. So the next one is redesigned 27-inch iMac is pushed back to summer 2022. What do you guys think?
No surprise. No surprise. I mean, the shortage of semiconductors and the shortage of labor because of the pandemic. I'm not surprised. And this will not be the first and only story that we hear this year of things like this being pushed back. This is
For sure.
I hate
For
saying
sure.
the new reality, whatever, but do you know what I mean, right? Like I think people need to be patient and realize that these things are going to happen. As a side story, as an example, I know we're going to talk about it here for a bit, but people are like, oh my God, with Unpacked happening, and they're saying John Prosser's now reporting, and a lot of people are reporting as well, because John Prosser is very reliable about how, so February 9th, we're expecting Unpacked, and then apparently the S21 Plus and S22 and S22 Plus will be delayed, but the Ultra with the S Pen, rumored, again, is supposed to be on time, right? So...
Yep.
But that makes sense because that's the one that's going to get the most attention. Why? Because it has an S Pen. 2, because all the fanatics and all the crazy people like us, we like to get the big boy, the higher up and everything. That makes sense. People are not rushing out to buy an S22 regular or plus, right? And again, shortages, labor. I mean, I don't think this is a big deal. So redesign 27-inch iMac push. So what is redesigned with it? Like, is there a big upgrade from the previous Ben, or is it?
So basically, they're kind of bringing it in line with the current 24-inch iMac, kind of like design, kind of like following that same design language, and then of course it's gonna have M1 Max and M1 Pro in it, so it's gonna be like more powerful and stuff.
Okay, so it's an M1. Okay.
Yeah, and apparently it's gonna have it's gonna be a 27-inch mini LED panel.
That's one of the biggest reasons right there in the mini LED. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's basically going to be a new
Right.
iMac Pro in a way.
Okay.
Because the last one was updated like 2015 or something, and then it just had minor upgrades afterward.
Has it been It's been 7 years since the last one? Really?
Yeah, I think they did update like some internal stuff, but design wise, it's been the same. And this is this new 27-inch iMac is going to be like a hybrid between the current 27-inch and the iMac Pro.
Oh, okay. So they're just getting everything in line.
Targeted towards, towards person. So then you have kind of the iMac for everybody for the home and stuff like that, and then you're gonna have the iMac for professionals. Kind of.
Gotcha.
Thing.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah, they're just getting everything in line. And again, I don't think.
Yeah, all with Apple Silicon.
That makes sense. Yeah, with the M1, with the LED. Yeah, that makes sense. But again, I don't think it's such a big deal. I mean, if you can hold off and wait for it, then wait. If not, just get what's available, kind of thing. That's always been my kind of go-to.
Yeah.
I don't think it's such a huge deal. I think Apple probably anticipated this. So.
And I think this is like an iMac that not many people are going to buy anyway, because it's going to be expensive and it's going to be targeted towards professionals. And there will be some professionals that want to wait until the refresh of the Mac Pro with Apple Silicon.
I was about to say.
So that's going to be...
If I was on the Pro end, I would probably wait for that and then do a one-to-one comparison. Yeah.
Yeah,
in
exactly.
terms of benchmarks and everything.
So so this apparently is going to be pushed back to probably WWDC or later on in the year. We'll have to see on that. But that's going to be cool.
Yeah.
Going to be getting Silicon Max, which everybody seems to be liking so far.
Yeah. Delays and when it comes to everything, not even just tech, like cars. I mean, look at those. Well, I mean, didn't they recently come out and say the Cybertruck's gonna be delayed another couple of years or something like that because of production, this and that? I mean, that again, I'm just giving an example, but this is unfortunately the quote unquote new reality. You know, until things kind of get caught up and everything, right? So,
yeah, for sure.
So moving on to our final topic before we kind of move on to you, Zach. So Galaxy Unpacked and Samsung Unpacked, we have to talk about it because it's something that's happening soon. It's a couple weeks away. I think February 9th, so I think next week.
Yep.
So we're going to be getting a bunch of stuff. We're going to get the new Galaxy S22 series. We're going to get S22, S22 Plus, and S22 Ultra with of course, new processors and all of that. We're also going to be getting the new Galaxy Tab S8, which is their kind of like iPad Pro competitor, I guess. It's going to have a notch, apparently. 120 hertz display, OLED. It's going to be basically like the best Android tablet you can buy. One of the only ones as well. And then we've also got, apparently there's rumors of a Galaxy Home Mini 2 to come out. They never released the,
like a speaker?
The original Galaxy Home. Yeah, they never
because the original Cauldron speaker
one.
never did come out, did it? It never did fully release. Remember? Do you guys remember that thing? It was freaky looking, right? With like the feet and everything. Like I always thought
everybody hated it. It looked like a barbecue. That's what everybody was saying.
It looked like a cauldron. I was like, does this come with witches? Does it come with?
And it never came. It was kind of like.
I wanted one because of how freaky it looked. I did want one.
Benji, wasn't that one of the things that we talked about in your one of the tech rewinds that we did? I think it was the tech rewind that we did on your channel. I remember that.
I've tried researching everything that nobody can really give an answer of like why did this never come out and everything like that. But it
just disappeared. Yeah, it's like Samsung was like, "Here's a speaker with Bixby," and then nobody ever heard of it again.
Well, they had a whole
like AirPower.
They had like a whole integration thing that was supposed to happen with Spotify and everything like that, right? And there was all these names attached to it and this and that.
Yeah,
and they had them all lined up. Remember, on the stage and everything. And all I could think is like, did they escape? Did they run away? Is that why we don't have these here?
But they had legs.
Yeah, exactly. So, right.
You could have done that. I think I made a video and I made that joke where like maybe it'll run away, and it kind of did.
You did. I remember that.
You know what would be totally awesome is if they won't do this, but it would be cool if Samsung came out and said like, listen, we meant to bring you the first generation, they ran away, and do like a little cartoon of them like running away, and just to kind of poke fun at themselves, and then like here's the real deal and it's available this date. I think that'd be kind of cool, but we know they won't.
That'd be hilarious. Yeah, they'll never do that.
I don't think they'll even acknowledge the first generation. I don't think they will at all.
I mean, they're okay with making fun of Apple and the notch and then adding it themselves, but
I like it when companies poke fun at themselves because it's like an acknowledgement and like kind of a tip to the hat and going, okay, tech nerds, we get it, right? And I think that kind of humility is always really good, right? So, but Samsung does not have a history of ever doing that. They like to poke fun of other companies, but they never really poke fun at themselves. So
yeah,
it's funny. And some companies do it, and some companies do it really well, and some companies don't do it very well. Like, I don't know if Google was funny when they said this is our first flagship phone when they did the Pixel 6.
Yeah. So with the Galaxy, I've been saying this for a while. So 22 series, 22, 22 Plus, 22 Ultra. I've been calling them S22, S22 Plus, S22 Ultra Note Edition because that's where everybody's going to be calling it Note this, Note that, right? And I would just as a Note fan. As someone that has loved the Note, has had several. I've only owned about 3 different Notes, but I mean, I absolutely love that device. I would love them to keep the Note name in there. So I'm interested to see this when it comes to these presentations from both Apple, whether it's Apple or Google or Samsung. I'm always interested in their wording and how they present things and what they leave out. I always have like a checklist. Like, are they going to acknowledge these things? And the big thing when it comes to the Ultra is this. Are you going to acknowledge and mention the Note series and everything that device did in terms of big phones and the way it led to big phones and everything, and then say, hey, this is our next generation. Things have to move forward. I mean, I think they should, because we've seen them do that in the past. I think it was with the Note 10 presentation where they acknowledged how everybody made fun of them about having a big phone, and they just kept on going bigger and bigger. Do you guys remember that presentation? Right, that was 3 or 4 years ago, whatever. And they mentioned how, you know, they showed all these articles and things like that, people making fun of them, and then they showed the numbers and how the lineups and everything, people getting these big phones, how well the Note did. So we know there's a huge community out there outside of even us tech nerds. I mean, people, everyday kind of people. So
Yeah.
I'm interested to see, do they acknowledge, do they show the history and this is why, or do they just go into it and go, hey, we added an S Pen? Are they going to keep it simple like that? I really hope they acknowledge the history and everything like that.
Yeah, because I mean, they skipped the last Note, and then they're kind of merging the Ultra with the Note this year.
Yeah.
Which I guess it kind of like helps with simplifying the lineup, because then having like four, I guess, kind of flagship phones is a bit much, and a bit confusing for some people. But
it makes complete sense, because you do your Galaxy series at the start of the year, and because the Ultra has always been a kind of a Note-ish type phone without an S Pen, right? Think about it. The Notes have always been huge, 6+ whatever inches, with an S Pen, so it makes sense. And then you put all of your tech and all of your wow and everything into the end of the year, which is what you used to do with the Note, into your foldables, because that's the next generation. We want to get people onto foldables. It's a folding screen. I mean, come on, man. Straight out of Star Trek. I mean, or whatever, right? So you do that, and then in between all that, in between those 9 or 10 months in between, you bring out, I don't know, maybe an FE, got your A series, your J series, everything like that. And again, nothing wrong with those mid ranges. Actually, Samsung makes a brunt of their money in the mobile space from those tier 2 devices, not just the Galaxy and foldables and whatnot. So, you know, you experiment in this and that in between, and then you showcase the best at the end of the year with your foldables, and at the start of the year, you have what's familiar for people, right?
Yeah, and that kind of brings up a question. Taylor just wrote it down in the note, but I'm going to include it now. But what are your views on foldables, and like maybe even companies like Apple coming into the foldable space?
So my viewpoint has almost completely changed since CES, and here's why. So up until CES, the only hands-on time I ever had with a foldable was going to a TELUS or Bell or Rogers store. Those are the 3 big carriers up here in Canada, and trying out the foldables that were hooked up to all these, security things, whatever. And for me, my biggest question was this: am I going to get a better or different experience through a foldable? With the Galaxy Fold, I would say yes, because you're opening up to a bigger screen, okay? And yeah, you can multitask and this and that and do more things. With the Flip, I would say no, but the Flip makes more sense for the mainstream because it opens up to a familiar design, right? Candy bar, right? We're familiar with that, and then you just fold it up and put it in your pocket, right? So my opinion up until CES was always, it's cool and everything, but I don't know if it's enough for me to jump on, which is why I've never picked one up. Then I went to TCL's event there, and also their booth at CES, and I had hands-on with Project Chicago, and that is their canceled foldable device. Now, Michael Fisher first brought this device for all of us to see over a year ago, Mr. Mobile there, and at CES, the TCL, along with their 30 series, they also decided to showcase Project Chicago. Now, Project Chicago did not happen for one particular reason. They couldn't get it to a price point they want it to be. And I have a direct quote, and I'm allowed to talk about this, from my TCL rep, who says, they wanted to get it between $700 and $800. And unfortunately, they were well over that. And when you put them side by side with the Samsungs came at a lower price. So you have to give Samsung a lot of credit. They brought their foldables from $1,600, $1,500 price point down to sub $1,000, so $1,000 within 3 years. That's crazy, right? That's really impressive. That's more attainable for more people. Is it mainstream yet? I don't think so. So I had hands-on time with their foldable, TCL's foldable, at CES, and I finally got it. Like I actually had time there in the room and everything, and actually got the this and that, put them in and out of my pocket and everything. And I was like, okay, like I get it now. And this would be like what I would go for because it was a clamshell type design. So my opinion on foldables is this: are they the future? I don't think everything is going to be foldable. I think you're looking at a more mainstream future where you still have this kind of selection. You still have a smaller version of this. Obviously, you still have an option of foldables that are more robust, more that are going to be able to put up with the everyday wear and tear from most people, and are going to be hopefully under $600, under $500. I would hope to see that in the next couple of years and everything. So I think there's room for both. I don't think everything is going to go foldable. I have a hard time seeing that and everything. And there's still people out there that want just regular flip phones. I mean, my folks are one of them. It took me forever to get them on just a little iPhone and everything like that, and they love it. But I think there's a future for everything, and
Definitely.
it should be cool to see what they do. But the fact that TCL had a proof of concept there has me very, very excited, especially for the price point they were trying to get to.
And of course, I think as the technology improves, as they can kind of lower the amount of trade-offs you get with foldables, because like right now you trade off a lot of things when you buy a like let's say the Z Fold 3. You sacrifice durability a little bit because of the inside screen being plastic. Also, even like the front-facing camera inside is not the greatest. There's been a lot of controversy over that. But even things like the form factor, like how narrow the outside screen of the Z Fold is, and then we'll have even like with the Z Flip, which honestly, personally, I don't think that's the way foldables should go. For like, because most people they're not going to be buying their phone as a fashion accessory or their phone as a kind of like oh look, this is cool. Most people are going to be buying it for the functionality, and I think if we start getting things like an iPad mini sized device that can fold in half, that on the outside screen is very usable, kind of like a phone is for everyone today, but then it can fold out into double that. I think that is kind of a foldable that I think I would personally use
That makes a lot of sense. And the camera thing is a huge point. That's huge for me. I need to have an amazing camera. And if I don't care if the device can fold up 4 different ways and this and that. If it takes potato photos, forget about it. I don't care. I'll give you an example. I have the Pixel 6 Pro. I'm not a fan of curved edges, okay? I'm not. If I have a choice between curved or flat edges, I'll go for flat. But this one, the Pro, has the telephoto, and I take a lot of landscape photos. I'm known for taking pictures of lakes. I like taking pictures of lakes. I don't know why. We got a lot of lakes around here, okay? I live near in the mountains. It's beautiful. It's easy to take those kind of photos. If I can't crop in without losing detail and this and that because of the telephoto, or not even have a telephoto, forget about it, right? I know some people say, well, move up, move forward, whatever. Listen, if you have a 50x telephoto, you're going to take advantage of that. Let me tell you that. So, again, like I said, it's cool that things can fold and this and that, and it's wild, and I never thought that would ever happen in my lifetime. But right now, for example, with the Z Flip, I'm going to pick on the Z Flip 3. The Z Flip 3 has the same camera system as it did the previous generation, okay? The Z Flip 3 is really just a proof of, I don't want to say proof of concept, but it's a proof that Samsung is saying, we're in this, and we've lowered the price. Everybody else, bring your game, right? So, you got players like Huawei, TCL, Oppo, OnePlus, this and that, all the North American players that are looking at this going, oh, shoot, they did this in 3 years, bringing under $1,000. We got to do the same thing. But what audience are you catering to, right? So, like one of the biggest concerns that my parents or my sister or my family always has is, should I get an iPhone or should I get this? You know, which one has the better camera? And I'm always like 110% go with the iPhone. It's what you're used to. It's what you're, you know, you like using iMessage, this and that. You're going to get an amazing camera, whether it's an SE or an 11 or a 13, whatever. You're going to get an amazing camera experience. With Android, it's debatable. I mean, I think generally you're pretty much okay if you go with a Samsung. But then again, going back to the whole foldable things, like Ben said, you're sacrificing this spec, that spec, whatever, because it does. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I mean,
right.
again, that's innovation. That's where we're at. It's not complaining. It's just that these are the hopes and the dreams that we have, right? So.
Yeah, for sure. I couldn't agree more with that. But I guess moving on a little bit because of time, we wanted to now get to know you a little bit more, Zach, a little bit more. How about when you started creating content on YouTube and kind of some advice that you would have for me and Taylor or even other creators out there, or even creators that are thinking of starting. So when did you start creating content and why did you, I guess, go down that road?
Well, I had to go to the About section of my main channel here, ZAKTalks Tech. And so the channel was created on September 8th, 2016. But I didn't publish my first video on it till January. And I can't remember why that was. The channel was originally called Zak Tech Reviews, and then I renamed it to ZAKTalks Tech about three or 4 years ago kind of thing. So I would say when it comes to creating content, whether it's tech content or, I mean, if you're reviewing flowers, or if you're talking about cars, if you're talking about wooden panels or whatever it is, it's got to be something. And this is going to sound very cliche. You hear this from a lot of the educators, but it's true. It's got to be something that you're passionate about. Okay, it's got to be something that you can literally turn on the camera and just talk about and get excited about, right? If I have to research a topic or a brand and have to actually learn about it, and it feels like I'm back in the classroom, I'm not passionate about it, right? So when you guys bring up all these things about the Macs and anything like that, like I know these headlines, but I'm not actively reading about things like this because that's not the stuff that I concentrate on. What I am interested in is what Samsung's doing, what TCL is doing with gadgets, accessories, and that's basically what runs my main channel. And then I have my secondary channel, ZAKTalks Pixel, which has been taking off, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It's Pixel and Google ecosystem. That's a channel I've always wanted to launch and everything, and it just seemed to make sense to do it. So you've got to have a passion. It doesn't matter what it is. You should be able to turn on the camera and just be able to talk or whatever it is, or do the research or know the sources to go to get the information you need so you can pass it on and provide a value. The second thing I'm going to say is stop making excuses. Stop waiting to get this camera, that light, this microphone. Okay? You can do everything you need to do literally through your phone. And if you think I'm lying, go look at the vlogs I did in 2019 from Mexico, literally holding my iPhone out like this same phone right here. It went for a dip in the ocean and everything. This thing has been a complete workhorse. And you can do everything through that. I did the editing all through that. I did the publishing, the uploads, everything through the phone. There are 100,000, 500,000, 1 million sub count channels out there where literally they just use your phone. And I'm going to let you guys in a little secret here. ZAKTalks Pixel is recorded on an iPhone. Why? Because it's the phone I have in my pocket, and it works out great. The selfie camera works out amazing, and I get 4K 30, and 4K 30, 24 frame, whatever. Be a snob, I don't care. But I do 4K 30, okay? So you can literally use the phone in your pocket. I'm not gonna name names or anything, but there's a fellow creator here in Calgary, who I recently gave some lights to, some of my older umbrella lights that I bought. Okay. That's the last thing he needed. It's now been 3 weeks since I sent to him, and he hasn't started recording yet. Well, all I have is a webcam. Dude, that's all you need. Actually, you could use your iPhone that's in your pocket. It's just, stop. Just, you're not going to be perfect. And if you don't believe me, go look at some of your favorite creators. Look at their very first videos and see how bad they are. You're only going to get better by doing. So, 1, be passionate, and 2, just start. Just start. Just go. Use what you have. Go.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like a lot of people I see, they just procrastinate and then they'll never they never create content because they're like, oh no, now it's too late. And also like that's something that, like, even when I started, I didn't have the fancy camera. I just used the camcorder that my family had, and it was like, oh, just start with this, and then I moved on to my iPhone and things like that. And so, like, of course, starting small, just starting from what you have, is just start. There's just nothing.
There's a lot of keeping up with the Joneses, and I think that almost comes from what social medias you're on. I love and hate Twitter. That is such a wasteland, but also such a great resource when it comes to working with or talking with other creators, because you always see people on there, oh, I'm selling this, or I'm going to upgrade to this, or I can start when I get this. Listen, just start with what you have. Now, technically speaking, I should be recording all my content on here, and I do for ZAKTalks Tech, but when I do ZAKTalks Pixel, you guys, I don't know if you guys can see the angle. Yeah, you might be able to see it here. No, you can't see it. Actually, you might be able to see it from this angle here. There's a tripod right here, okay? See this right here? That's what I mount my iPhone in when I start doing ZAKTalks Pixel. Now, I can probably get a better picture of this and that and whatever with this right here, but I'm not going to. I don't want to move it. I have everything set up the way I want. And here's the thing. Nobody can tell the difference. I've never once had a comment saying, what did you record this on? It's about it's about the content and the value you're bringing to people, okay?
Yes.
One of the biggest pieces of advice I got at CES this year is this. Always find the solution. So yes, I could easily go and make a video today complaining and this and that about how the S22 regular and S22 Plus are supposed to be delayed, but the Ultra is coming. What value does that bring to people other than passing on the news, which they've probably already read in your title? So what is the solution? What can you offer people like that? So I have vowed basically in the last year and a half, 2 years here, to only record and make video content that provides a value, whether it's information value or how-tos, or showing them new products, or how to things like that, like the Pixel Buds case here from Nomad, whatever it is, right? So I think because people, especially now, the TikTok, I like to call it the TikTok era, people's attention spans are like squirrel, right? And they don't pay attention, right? So you got to get that hook right away. You got to get the attention. Like, why should I give you 3.5 minutes of my time? Why should I give you 7 minutes of my time? Why should I watch your 17-minute review? Only Flossie Carter can pull off an hour and a half video of talking about literally having this kind of view, talking about something for an hour and a half. Only he can do that. Okay, so you gotta carve out your own space. Yes, there are certain things, for example, in the tech niche, things that work, familiarity, things like that you should do. But you ultimately need to also carve out your own space. Stop trying to be Marquez. Stop trying to be Box Therapy. Stop trying to be your average consumer. And I'm just spitballing names. You need to carve out your own space. And John Prosser put it the best. And you guys can edit me on this. He says, stop trying to build a new. Stop trying to fit the puzzle and build a new puzzle. That's. And you really kind of think about that. Why should I keep on trying to fit everything like that, and when I should try to build my own and build my own community around that? So
I wanted to ask you, what did you start with versus what you use now, and what do you recommend for creators, upcoming creators, to
in terms of
start?
Like equipment?
Yeah.
I started with, so my very first video on ZAKTalks Tech was actually filmed on a Pixel first generation little mini tripod looking down kind of thing, and it was just like a one take kind of thing. You can hear me gasping for air and trying to rush through it and everything like that. I was reviewing some ballistic cases and everything like that. So literally start with what's in your pocket. Then I actually moved on to, I purchased, my first big camera purchase was a Sony AX53 camcorder. And not a lot of people talk about camcorders, but they're actually really good for what we do, because they have tremendously good autofocus, and all the inputs are there, 4K 30, and they're affordable. And they're very affordable. John Prosser,
I thought about getting one.
John Prosser on Front Page Tech used to record with a camcorder for a long time. So
I got a camcorder as well.
What do you got there? What is that? What is it?
This is a Canon Vixia HF R500.
There you go. They're very affordable too.
Yeah.
Right.
And this I used to use this up until I think up until I got my G7,
Mm-hmm.
and it's great.
So like here's the thing, like this is an A6500 from Sony, okay?
Yep.
But this is primarily a camera, not a video camera, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of us, and you'll see this in the tech industry, a lot of people, I mean, for example, this is an A7 II, right? This is primarily a camera, not a video camera, right? Sony ZV-1 is primarily a video camera. Okay, they built that for video first. So I would say this: if you're looking at cameras and everything, first of all, the Sony ZV-1 is a complete steal. At I think it's like 600 American, maybe 700. It's $1,000 in Canada, but you might be able to get it on sale. They primarily built that for video. That is a tremendously awesome camera for still like this, for talking head, for top down shots, things like that. So if you're going to invest in a video camera, I would say that's probably the best way to go. Other than that, look at getting a camcorder.
Yep.
When you go to cameras like this, the 6500, the A7, whatever it is, right? Sony, whether it's Sony or Canon, whatever, you have flexibility because, for example, this is a 16 millimeter Sigma lens. This right here is a 14 millimeter Reconin lens. What those mean, I don't know. It's the angle and everything, right? But you have the option of doing that kind of things. But know that when you get into that world, it gets really, really pricey, right?
Yep.
If you just want to turn it on and go camcorder, the phone in your pocket, right? Where you go.
Yeah, you've even got some point and shoot cameras that do video.
Yep.
I can't remember some of the names, but yeah, those are pretty affordable as well. But yeah, thanks for I think that kind of answers the question. Would you say that, Taylor?
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I'm still learning about this kind of stuff. This angle right here. I mean, for people that are listening, they can't see this obviously, but this is an iPad. This is the selfie camera on a 2018 iPad Pro, right?
Yep.
Running Filmic Pro to give that nice clean output, and then I'm using an adapter USB-C to HDMI and also power there to get that output. Same thing here with the iPhone. It's easier now than ever to get started with whatever you have. Get some, get the adapters, this and that, and away you go, right? So
Definitely.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely.
And like nowadays, like whatever phone you buy, even some budget Androids, they have decent enough cameras. Like maybe yes, you'll need to get an external mic because some of the audio isn't great with some phones, but it's very simple to start. I think nowadays.
If you look at the vlogs, if you look at the vlogs I did from CES, I mean, I used the iPhone plus the DD pocket wireless. Where you go and away we went. I didn't have to, but it was nice to, when you got noise and everything else around you, it's nice to use that and everything like that. And I would say if you're going to invest heavily into something at the start, once you have your camera figured out, work on your audio, please. There are so many channels out there where it's just. It's like you can tell they're using just the onboard mic, or you can tell that they don't have a microphone that's, it's got a good pattern on it and everything like that. Like this one right here is pretty good all the way around here, and it's got that classic look, but that's what you pay for with a Shure, right? So
exactly.
Work on your audio, people. Please work on your audio. It's crazy how many people out there don't work on their audio.
Yeah, and I think I would put audio over video because you can have
Really.
Yeah, I think a lot of people also say that, like, if your audio sounds bad, somebody's not going to watch your video, but if the video is, like, not the best, people will still watch it.
I'll
So I think
co-sign
if
that.
you-
There's been literally videos where I've tuned in after 5 seconds. I'm like, I can't listen to this. It sounds like they're in
Exactly.
a huge hall with everything's bouncing, right? So
Yeah, even though, like, a lot of people even just... Sometimes I watch a YouTube video and I don't actually look at the screen all the time. I'm just doing something else and I'm just listening. So I think audio is really key. I say over video.
I get a lot of comments
Personally.
from people like that too. They'll tune into the live streams and they'll just listen because they like the sound of the mic, the background music. Maybe they're a lurker, Taylor, and stuff like that, right? So yeah, no, I completely agree with that. That's actually a very good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta say, your mic man, awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I figured.
I honestly love the sound of it.
This is the Shure 55. Shure. The squeaking sounds because of the stupid mic stand. But this is the Shure Super 55 Deluxe. So they make a
Yeah.
Super 55, and this is the Deluxe. The difference is that the pattern's a little more narrow on this, and it's a little bit cleaner, and it's blue. So this is your quote unquote Elvis microphone, as some people call it. This is your
Yep,
classic.
yep.
And I figure if you're gonna be watching a live stream, first of all, it's bad enough that you have to look at this, but why not look at something that's pretty, right? Why not look at this, right? So it's become kind of a thing. Like I have a Rode Procaster, and I love how that thing sounds, but aesthetically, if people are gonna be watching things, I'll use this. If I'm doing VO stuff, I'll hook that one up, kind of thing. So
Gotcha.
Is that mic a USB mic, or is it?
no, this is XLR. So this is XLR
Yeah.
going into my Focusrite Scarlett 2i2, and then that goes USB out to my MacBook here, and then
Nice.
through the
Cool.
interface with loop back and everything I was talking about. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Awesome.
Well, Zach, what inspires you to stay motivated and keep creating content?
Well,
on
I'm
YouTube?
about 10 days behind since my last video, but the main reason why I got into all this is because I was tired of seeing my friends and family being taken advantage of by clever marketing or a lot of truth not out there in terms of like what they're purchasing.
Yeah.
I wanted to make sense of the tech they love. That's kind of my tagline in the last year or so, making sense of the tech you love. And the way I like to describe tech is as if I'm talking to my mother. So rather than saying to my mother, it has a 50 megapixel camera, 256 gigabytes of storage, and 12 gigabytes of RAM, I'll say, Mom, it has one of the best cameras on the market. There's a lot of space on there so you can take tons of photos, and it's really, really fast. Right? One of those,
That right there.
that first line right there speaks to probably
Yes.
everybody that's listening to this and to you guys here. But that
Yeah,
second
that's
line
why
there, it speaks to probably the majority of people out there, right?
I agree completely. Like honestly, I do the same thing on my channel.
Mm-hmm.
I try not to use the big words that nobody will understand. I try to make it as understanding as possible. And if people don't understand, then just tell me, and I'll explain it better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's a tricky act as well, because you want to be able to serve your nerdy audience and the geeky audience. And I say that
Yes.
in a loving way. It's not to be disparaging or anything like that. I'm a geek. I'm a nerd. I know you guys are as well. That's a great thing to be nowadays.
Yep.
But at the same time, you also want, like, I should be able to send my video to my parents, or they should be able to tune into my live stream, and they should be able to go, okay, we get that, right? You don't want to overbear people with a lot of lingo, this and that. You got to make sense of it, and that's where a lot of my motivation has come from, is just cutting through a lot of the BS and the this and that, and like, what are they actually doing? So one of the, like, for example, and again, I'm picking on Samsung again here, and I'm sorry, Sammy, but I mean, for example, the Z Flip 3. Amazing they got down to that price point. Amazing that it's more waterproof. Amazing that it's more dustproof, this and that. But the camera's still the same, right? The camera's still the same. So if you want to get a foldable and you still want to have a great camera experience, well, just so you know, you're still going to get the older camera experience. Yeah. Yes, 2 thumbs up and everything for getting the price down and everything like that, and making it more accessible. But the camera experience isn't there for people that care about that, right? And that's something that needs to be highlighted and everything. And again, I'm not saying that Samsung is trying to hide that or anything, but in the past, with other companies, with other new devices and things like that come out, companies might gloss over that or not mention it. One of the things that Apple does all the time, and it drives me absolutely nuts, whenever a new iPhone is announced, they always talk about how much better the battery is, more talk time, more data time, but they never tell you the battery size. Even when you go on the tech specs, when the device is finally announced and officially on the website, you have to dig and this and that. And then there's always some defender out there that comes along, Apple defender, that explains that, well, that's not how you properly measure. No. Listen, I want to know how many milliamp hours are in there, because most people understand milliamp hours, and my nerd audience wants to know that and everything like that. And that's kind of making sense of the tech and everything like that. Okay.
Right.
So, and I'm happy to say that my iPhone here still gets almost 2 days on it. It's absolutely insane. And this device is almost 3 years old. So anyway, that's where the motivation for myself comes as well. And I like what a lot of these companies are doing. I love what TCL is doing coming along, especially in the North American market, and shaking things up. They've been very they've been there for a few years, obviously in the UK and overseas and whatnot, under different names and everything, but now going under their own banner. I love what they're doing here, especially kind of filling that void that LG left behind.
Yeah.
I love how Samsung is just going all in on foldables and saying, forget everybody else, this is what we're doing. I love how Apple is just taking their time, because you know what? It's working for them. Being boring and predictable is working for them because that's their audience. Okay, so they know they're doing, and that's not a bad thing. Being boring and predictable is good, right? If my parents can pick up an iPhone 11 Pro Max and use it the same way as that they use their SE or their iPhone 4, my uncle up north in the bush, my Uncle Gordon, love him to death. He still uses an iPhone 4. Like it's got the 30 pin. Right?
Dude.
He will not change. Never forget about it. He doesn't care. He has to plug that thing in 10 times a day. Right? I think it's great that he can use that, and then I go visit him and he can use my phone. Right? Other than the swiping gestures, everything is familiar. I think that's brilliant. That is brilliant. Especially after how many years?
True.
I've always been a tech nerd, and I've always enjoyed explaining tech. I try to explain it to people like we're sitting down and having a coffee, a beverage, a beer, whatever you want to call it. And that's kind of the long form answer. But again, the short answer is just I like to make sense of the tech for people and help them make their decisions. So
yeah, I just want to say about a month or two ago, and I think I sent it to you, Benji. I went to Five Below and I actually saw the 30-pin connector charger on like
I'm
next
surprised
to the
places still sell
Lightning,
those.
and I'm just like, what?
So I don't know if you guys saw the live stream that I did with my son here a couple weeks ago, but we had him bring on some of the tech that he likes using, and one of those pieces of tech was my wife's first generation iPod video.
That's
okay,
awesome.
And it still uses a 30-pin adapter, and it still works. Like he carries around the house and watches
I
videos
was
and
actually
everything.
on that stream. Yeah,
Were
I
you?
saw that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so he's using this old piece of tech. My wife listens to her music and everything like that when she's cleaning up the house and everything, and it still works brilliantly. How old is that device? What year did that come out? 2013, 2012 or whatever? So
Yeah. Yep.
crazy, right?
Dude.
Yeah.
So I actually have a question that kind of regards your son. Do you think he's going to be the next upcoming creator on YouTube?
I don't know. He's really into like Lego and building and like Transformers and things like that. And he's really creative that way. He's got a 2010 MacBook that I upgraded. I put 16 gigabytes of RAM in there and SSD and everything. So he can actually run and use iMovie on there. And he has been doing some things here and there.
Gotcha.
But he's definitely more on the creative side of things, which I'm happy about. So with the sit down and doing the editing and everything like that, not so much anything, but we'll have to see. Every week he's always got a different idea for a different type of channel. So I kind of, I tell him what's involved in this and that, and let's go ahead and make a video. And then it's like, nah, Dad, I think I'm going to go put together my Legos. Okay, cool. So, I mean, he's 10 years old. He's still figuring things out. So
yeah, true.
Yeah.
So that's awesome, man. Benji, anything you want to add, or?
No, I think that's everything we had planned for the episode. Zach, is there any questions you have for us or anything?
Well, Taylor, I want to compliment you on your drive and what you've been doing on your channel. I know it's been an uphill battle, and it always is for any type of creator or anything. I'm just going to tell you, man, just keep at it. Keep on, keep your ear to the ground. Really narrow down. I think your channel is going to look completely different a year from now, what it is, from what it is. Definitely reach out anytime if you have any questions or anything like that. I've seen a tremendous improvement with your thumbnails and things like that. I don't even have the thumbnail game figured out, but keep at it, man. I love what you're doing and the passion and everything like that, and in the streams and everything. Ben, I'm so glad to have you back with us and everything. Even you never left or anything like that, but I'm glad to have you back. I still love the name. I still love the name BenObi. I love it. It just as a Star Wars nerd and everything like that, and I'm glad you guys had me on. I like what you guys are doing, and keep at it. Keep positive. And if you guys ever have any questions or anything like that, reach out anytime. You guys know I'm very accessible.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
For everybody who's listening or watching, if you don't already, go ahead and follow Zach. We will leave links in the description below and in the show notes as well for those who are listening. Thank you again so much for being on the show, Zach. It's been a pleasure. It's been a great conversation. And for those who are listening and watching, thank you so much for staying up until this point as well. Make sure to like the podcast, share it, do all those things. Thanks so much for listening. This has been episode 17 of the Tech Unlocked
17.
podcast. 17. Thanks everyone for listening and for watching. We will see you all, or you'll hear from us next week.